Amelie's arrival at the maximum security prison is a sight to behold. With her meticulously styled silver hair and an upright posture that defies her age, she walks through the grim, gray hallways of the facility with a disconcerting calm. The inmates, accustomed to daily noise and bravado, stop their activities to watch the new arrival. They crowd around the bars of their cells, whispering and laughing about the fresh, out-of-place appearance of the octogenarian.
"Look who's here! Looks like they lost this granny on the way to the asylum,"
exclaims a burly man with tattooed arms. His words provoke a wave of laughter and crude jokes that echo through the hallways. Amelie, however, shows no sign of disturbance. Her eyes calmly sweep over her surroundings, ignoring the laughter and mocking comments. When a young inmate with a sarcastic smile approaches the bars of his cell and says,
"Hey, Granny, you know this isn't bingo night, right?"
she simply fixes him with an icy stare that silences the hallway for a moment.
"We're not all here to play bingo, young man,"
Amelie replies, her firm voice cutting through the heavy prison air. The young man's smile fades, his confidence shaken by her unexpected tone of authority. The exchange is brief, but enough to sow a seed of doubt in the hearts of the other prisoners. As Amelie continues her path, accompanied by a guard striving to maintain a neutral expression, the inmates' whispers change in tone. Curiosity begins to replace mockery as they wonder who this woman truly is, who doesn't flinch at their jeers. Amelie is already giving them the first of many lessons in this brutal, mistrustful world. Appearances can be dangerously deceptive. As the days pass, Amelie's presence in the prison continues to cause intense agitation among the inmates. What started as a source of mockery quickly evolves into detailed and unsettling rumors about her past. During a rare moment of relaxation in the prison yard, the truth begins to surface. A group of inmates gathered in a distant corner whispers intensely.
"Have you heard?"
asks an inmate with a deep voice, looking around to ensure no one overhears.
"Amelie wasn't an ordinary woman. She led the Canastra cartel, one of the most brutal in the south of the country." "Canastra?"
Another inmate responds incredulously.
"But that cartel was known for leaving no one alive in its path. You're telling me this old woman was their leader?" "Yes,"
confirms the first with a glimmer of respect and admiration in his eyes.
"She was known as the Iron Lady. No one ever saw her face, but everyone knew opposing her was a death sentence."
As they speak, Amelie walks past them, her impeccable bearing unchanged. She notices the stares and approaches with a serene expression, but an evaluating gaze. A tense silence falls over the group.
"It's always interesting to see what people choose to believe,"
she says in a low, clear voice.
"But let me clarify something. Over time, I've learned that true power lies not only in mastering fear, but also in understanding human nature."
She pauses, letting her words sink in.
"And believe me, I understand people very well."
With a subtle nod, she continues her path, leaving behind a trail of unease mingled with admiration. The inmates exchange looks, aware that they share the space with a living, feared legend. Rumors spread like wildfire, and soon, the story of Amelie, the Iron Lady of the most feared cartel, is accepted as a sinister warning. She is not an adversary to be underestimated. As Amelie's true identity becomes known among the inmates, a palpable mix of respect and fear begins to spread through the prison's corridors. This 80-year-old woman, once the target of mockery, is now seen as a quasi-mythological figure whose past deeds cast a long dark shadow. During one of the communal meals in the noisy, tumultuous cafeteria, a new inmate named Hugo, unaware of Amelie's story, casually sits next to her. Noticing the immediate discomfort on the surrounding faces, he looks around in confusion.
"What did I miss? Did I miss something?"
Hugo asks, chewing his bread. An older inmate, Jonas, who knows the prison's unwritten rules well, leans towards Hugo and whispers urgently,
"You don't want to mess with her." That's Amelie, the Iron Lady. She ran a cartel before ending up here.
Hugo stops chewing, his gaze shifting to the elderly woman beside him. Amelie, noticing the attention, calmly places her utensils on her plate and looks at Hugo with a penetrating stare that makes him flinch slightly.
Young man,
she begins in a low but authoritative voice.
It's nice to see there are still people who don't know me. It makes me feel more at ease.
Her small smile carries a weight that fills the air with tension. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Hugo mutters an apology before quickly getting up and moving away. Amelie merely nods and returns to her meal. In the following days, Hugo's story spreads, and the reverential fear of Amelie grows. No one wants to be the next to underestimate the silver-haired old woman. She speaks rarely, but when she does, her words are thoughtful and respected, carrying the weight of years of experience and a perspective few can claim. As the weeks pass, the inmate's perception of Amelie begins to change. She never responds to provocations with violence. Instead, she uses her intelligence and empathy to resolve conflicts. Once, when two inmates were about to come to blows over a food dispute, Amelie intervened with impressive calm.
You're not really fighting over food,
she said.
You're fighting for respect, aren't you? We have so little here. Why not at least try to respect each other?
Her words, spoken with sharp sincerity, make them pause and reflect. The quarrel is forgotten. From that day on, Amelie is seen as a kind of mediator in internal disputes. Her influence grows to the point that even the guards notice a change in the dynamics of her ward. They observe, sometimes with surprise, that her presence seems to calm tempers. During a conversation overheard by a guard, one comments,
"Have you seen how Amelie manages to keep order here? She doesn't even need to raise her voice. There's something about her. She has an authority that doesn't come from threats or force."
Amelie, with her calm and respectful manner, has become an unofficial authority figure. Without intending to, she has become essential to maintaining peace and order. The woman who had been the laughingstock of all is now someone whose opinion and approval are sought by almost everyone in this hostile environment. Amelie's power doesn't come from official authority, but from the strength of the respect she inspires. Her quiet but effective leadership has redefined power relations in the prison, showing that true strength often lies in understanding and influencing people, not in dominating them through fear. Despite the growing respect Amelie has gained from inmates and prison staff, an unexpected side effect begins to manifest: isolation. At first, she interpreted the space they started giving her as a sign of respect, but she soon realized there was something deeper and darker about this new dynamic. The prisoners began to avoid crossing her path, not out of deference, but out of fear that any interaction might be interpreted as a challenge or a failure and lead to repercussions. It is during an incident in the cafeteria that Amelie feels this most clearly. Sitting alone at a table that, a few months ago, was surrounded by conversation and laughter, she observes the calculated distance others keep. When she attempts to engage in conversation with a new inmate sitting a bit closer, the response is telling.
"Sorry, Amelie, I don't want any trouble, you know. They say it's better not to get too involved in things that don't concern us,"
mumbles the woman, looking nervously around before getting up and joining a table further away. This isolation paradoxically reinforces Amelie's aura of power. Her solitude is not a punishment, but becomes an involuntary tool that enhances her influence. The inmates begin to see her not only as a mediator, but also as a quasi-mythological figure capable of exerting control with a simple look or nod. In a rare conversation with one of the guards, Amelie expresses her frustration.
"This is not what I wanted, you know. All this fear, it's not respect. It's something colder. I wanted to help, but now I feel more isolated than ever."
The guard, a perceptive woman who understands the paradox of the situation, responds.
That's the price of power here, Amelie. You have an influence that many would envy, but the price is high. And in a way, you're protected by that same fear that isolates you.
Amelie's position as a powerful entity within the penitentiary system is now unquestionable. She maintains her influence and control without direct effort, supported by the combination of respect and fear that permeates the air around her. Her isolation not only consolidates her status, but also protects her, keeping her above the daily pettiness and power struggles that consume the lives of other inmates. Without intending to, she has become a respected leader, though from a distance, a figure whose mere presence dictates behavior within the prison walls.